boundaries and 192 economic agendas trying to force nature into our agenda, and it cannot work. We have to do exactly the opposite. We have to learn to fit into nature's agenda, to live within nature's laws and conditions. So we have the challenge of environmentalism is to see our place in the world and see the real things that keep us alive and healthy, and to develop ways of living to protect those things. So the first thing we have to do is put the eco back into economics, and remember that. I'm often asked by young people, what should I do? I want to save the planet. I want to become an environmentalist. And my answer to that is, the planet's not in trouble. Don't worry about the planet. It's doing fine. With or without us, the planet will do fine. We're the ones that are in trouble. But then I say, environmentalism is not a specialty. It's not a discipline. Environmentalism is a way of seeing our place on the planet. And we need everybody to see the world that way. So I always tell young people, follow your heart. What is it that makes you happiest? What do you like to do? And then see that activity through the lenses of environmentalism. And we need musicians and doctors and teachers and garage mechanics and plumbers. Everybody has to see the world through the lenses of environmentalism. And then we can truly shift our priorities. Let me end by saying, I've given you a very heavy talk. My message over the last few years is that environmentalists have fundamentally failed in the sense of transforming the way we look. It's what we call a paradigm shift. We haven't shifted the paradigm away from the current one we're in. We currently think we're in charge. It's all there for us to use, just have to be a little more responsible. We haven't shifted to understanding we are a part of a community of organisms on whom we depend for our health and well-being. We have not shifted the paradigm, and all of the discussions we have and the fights that we have are all overwhelmed by the highest priority of the economy. Everything has to be argued within that economic sense. We've got to protect the economy. Well, the big excitement to me is that there's a little country, a little kingdom deep in the Himalayan mountains on the border with India called Bhutan. It's a country with 300,000 people. And a few years ago, the king of Bhutan, who is loved by his people, said, this is the 21st century, you shouldn't have kings, I quit. You should elect a government and have a democratic parliament and elect your prime minister. But before he left, he said, the reason we have kings and governments is not to have economic growth. That's not our purpose. That's a means to something else. The economy is a means to help us achieve the happiness of the people. And so they have developed a gross happiness index. Instead of a gross domestic product, it's gross happiness that they measure in Bhutan. In April of this year, Jigme Finley, the Prime Minister of Bhutan, went to the United Nations and introduced the only resolution Bhutan has ever introduced at the United Nations. A resolution calling for governments around the world to make the wellness of life and the happiness of people the highest priority and the goal of governments. 68 countries immediately signed and said, we agree. But they said, what does it mean to be happy? You know, if David wakes up in bed next to his wife, he's happy. But you may not agree that that's happiness. What is happiness? What is wellness? Is there a way of describing it so that we all accept that? And how do we measure it? And how can we achieve it? So Bhutan has set up 4 working groups to look at different aspects of this challenge of measuring and achieving wellness and happiness. And those 4 groups are charged with completing their studies within 2 years, at which time it will be presented to the United Nations as a blueprint for governments to follow around the world. And that is truly the game changer. That is the paradigm shift that we need so desperately. So there's lots that can be done in the future. This, I believe, is one of the good ones. Thank you very much.